Happy IoT Day, everybody. I'm Mike Ellen, and I am joined today by AIM's IoT Industry Group Chair, Amber Walls. Today, we will be talking about AIM's role in educating and enabling the Internet of Things. First, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm the Member Engagement Manager for AIM, which is an industry association for automatic identification technologies. AIM has provided unbiased information, educational resources, and standards to providers and users of these technologies. At AIM, I work with members helping them navigate their membership as well as operate AIM Industry Group meetings. Some of these meetings are with AIM's RFID, technical symbology, track and trace, and of course, IoT industry groups. My email is below if you have any questions about AIM and membership. As I said earlier, I am joined by Amber Walls. Amber, please tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello, everybody. I am a Global Standards Director at GS1 US and have the absolute pleasure of being the chair of the AIM IoT Industry Group for 2019. I work extensively in standards development, primarily with identification, AIDC technologies, innovation, and various promotions. And along with development, do my best to evangelize the use of standards, AIDC technologies, and help different companies around the world implement. My contact information is down there if you want to reach out. Let's go ahead and get to what's more important, what IoT Day is.
All right, thank you for that information, Amber. So as you probably know now, April 9th is IoT Day. The event is celebrated around the globe each year on this date. It is an open invitation to the Internet of Things community to set up an event, a lunch, a talk with the neighborhood, or anything else that can be imagined to spur on the conversation on what IoT is and what it means in everyday life for all of us. You can learn more about other IoT-related events or submit your own IoT ideas at www.iotday.org. And also, if you do that, please submit those ideas to AIM as well. We would love to collaborate or share your ideas to our global network. So I already told you a little bit about AIM, but here's some additional information about our goal and the global network we have to achieve that goal of advancing the application of automatic identification and data capture technologies. The benefit of being an AIM member comes in being at the forefront of industry group meetings, which are not only great networking opportunities, but help shape the standards of how these technologies should be implemented. Now let's touch on why AIM and AIDC in general is involved in the IoT. AIM believes that AIDC technologies are the first millimeter, centimeter, meter, and kilometer of success of the IoT. For more on this, you can check out AIM's one-page paper explaining AIDC's vital role in the IoT. I've provided a link for that in the video description. Now, Amber, can you break down in greater detail what exactly are AIDC technologies?
Yeah, of course. So AIDC technologies, first off, what's the acronym mean? So automatic identification and data capture. And what the whole intent is to eliminate the need for human intervention for certain tasks. So taking out potential keyboard entry errors, removing the cumbersome applications of paper-based approaches, anything that's going to streamline and make efficient operations more compatible to meet the needs of industry and society in general. So probably what most people are familiar with are going to be barcodes, whether it be 1D barcodes like code 128 or 2D symbologies like QR code and data matrix. Also, radio frequency identification, or RFID, is a very large proponent of AIDC, and we're seeing that integrated in more and more. So if you had checked into your office building using your ID badge, you might have used RFID already this morning. We're seeing real-time location services also getting some pickup. Very, very useful, especially in the healthcare industry right now. AIDC technologies also include all the awesome things happening with machine vision, imaging, processing, the myriad of sensor types out there, whether you're trying to track temperatures throughout supply chain or the amount of radiation coming in contact with certain things, that's all included as well. And then not to forget retail and in-store solutions, like the things happening at point-of-sale terminals. Also with electronic article surveillance used for loss prevention in retail. And that's really just, the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more that's included within AIDC technologies that enable so many of these solutions. And here's just an example of a few. looking at the images pulled up on the screen, you can see that there is a wide variant of options available to meet your needs. All of these different technology types and data carriers are serving essentially the same function. They're communicating information one way or another, just all designed to meet different needs in different ways to make sure what you need to do is done efficiently. And as you can see on the slide, we have a great deal of participation from a lot of amazing companies that are doing a lot within the AIDC and IoT space. So if you would like to join this group, reach out to Mike and we can get you set up and help you get involved with some of the work being done. And we look forward to seeing some additional thought leadership in this space. So we discussed AIM and what we're up to. Now let's talk about the Internet of Things itself. Why does AIDC make a difference and why is it important? And what happens is AIDC technologies is what enables the Internet of Things to work. So some of the examples you see there, a t-shirt, medical devices, parcels coming to the mail, identification, all of those have base IoT or AIDC technologies that enable IoT embedded into them. So once those items are connected, whether it be by Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or some other connection method to the internet, it's going to enable that particular item to have a digital twin for data points to be captured. And we'll talk later on about different use cases that come into play and things that are being seen with AIDC-enabled IoT applications. So AIM's Internet of Things Committee is really a forum to better understand and shape this changing landscape. Everything is intimately interconnected in the world of products with services, information, and what we aim to do is provide a foundation for a smarter, more efficient world using automatic identification solutions. So I said, with what we're going to be talking about today, if you have any interest, we would love to hear it. And for the sake of IoT Day, even if you don't want to join AIM, take this as a jumping point to start a conversation. Talk about what's going on in terms of what your organizations are doing with IoT, whether you have something to celebrate, what's going to be the potential. I said, this is really a day to celebrate IoT, and you're more than welcome to come and join AIM and do that. Or if not, I said, plenty of other things to be done separately. So getting to the foundation of how IoT started. IoT as a term was originally coined by Kevin Ashton at the MIT Auto ID Center in 1999. Prior to that, there were definitely flavors of IoT applications in industry. Probably my favorite being Romkey's toaster in 1990, if anyone wants to look that up. But once IoT was given a name, and all of these kind of fringe interconnected projects could be bucketed under the same project and same kind of thought process, it was really meant to create a universal environment in which computers understand the world without human beings. Very similar to what the goal of AIDC technology is. From the beginning with the Auto ID Center, RFID was an integral part of the overall IoT vision. And the project partner EAN UCC definitely considered RFID the best suited technology to support and enable IoT. 20 years after its inception, 20 years already, IoT is definitely a modern, fresh concept. It's been around, the term's been there, but we're really coming into kind of a renaissance of how it's going to be used. We're seeing different IoT solutions enabled by increase in technology. There's some regulatory components and needs driving some adoption. Also, just the ability to transport and store all the data necessary for IoT applications is becoming much more tangible for businesses to be able to get their hands on. So despite it being around for a bit, we are really every bit as fresh and modern and as vigorate on this as in any time in the past today. Now, there are 4 core elements of IoT. So the first of that is obviously being things. Without things, we don't really have an Internet of Things. So what is a thing? That's going to be any sort of physical object or point of interest that you want to be able to capture some information about. So it might be a product, an appliance. It might be electronics in your home or at work. A myriad of anything you might possibly want to capture data points on. And I've had the conversation that thing is too much of a vague term, that when you start looking at use cases, any word besides the overly broad generalized thing really limits what it can do. So the things themselves is definitely the first starting point. Secondly, you have devices and data carriers. So this is going to be what's attached, affixed, embedded on the thing itself to help extract that data and communicate that forward out. Then third on the list, we're going to have the data itself. So you have your thing, you have how to communicate data, and then you have what that data actually represents. And what data points are being captured really define what you can do with this data set. So if you're just capturing a base level information, like what the product's identifier is, you can do certain things. But if you have that serialized, if you're capturing sensor data, if you're mapping over other data points like, weather patterns or, traffic in areas, congestion, the amount of other things being enabled when you bring all these data points together and making sure you're collecting the right things is an awesome task there. Then lastly, services, number 4. So this is going to be the mechanism that provides access to that information and data about a thing. So these are going to be your interfaces, your communication layer that connects the device as well as any infrastructure or hardware needed to present that information. Because once again, if you have the other 3 points, but you have no way to meaningfully access and share that data and do some analysis on it, it's meaningless. So every bit as important as the other ones is services, because that's what really makes all the other steps meaningful. That's a pretty hefty statement to make, but when you get to thinking about it, having everything interconnected, you can see in the image there, you have a cow connected to a stoplight, connected to a baby, connected to a martini. Seemingly unrelated things, but when all these pieces are being tracked, you're looking at things like smart cities, where the flow of people, how products are being delivered. Every small aspect of daily life could be interconnected in an IoT type environment. This begins to really look a little bit like maybe it could be the biggest business opportunity. And not only necessarily the biggest business opportunity, but the biggest fundamental societal change in how we interact with one another. So, we see the changes that occurred with the implementation of the internet. We see what's happening with social media. Just taking the next step further, what's beyond that? And for IoT Day, that might be another good conversation topic to kind of kick off, a larger discussion. And now we're kind of going to get to the fun part. So IoT in action. What exactly is going on? What are we seeing? So here's some that's listed off on the screen. We're talking about wearables that monitor your activity. They're in their second and third incarnation. They're being rapidly developed and fine-tuned to meet the needs of the wearers and also collecting additional data points that can be used meaningfully for other things. Belkin's product Wemo has been on the market for 18 months already, and we're seeing Nest thermostats, which was acquired by Google, available at Home Depot and other retailers. You can go to the store and just get these things, and I've done it myself. You can actually set them up. I used to be pretty happy when I could program the time on the VCR, and now I can put in a smart thermometer on my own. That's how simplistic and integrated some of these things are getting. Part of the beauty of some of what's happening in IoT now is we're going from everything being a smart something. I have a smartphone, a smart thermometer, a smart watch. They're just becoming watches and thermometers and phones just because being so easily integrated into some of our day-to-day life. So that in itself is fairly exciting. So here's an example that's particularly fun. In Western Australia, sharks have been electronically tagged. So when they swim through popular beaches and things in that area, if they hit a certain distance to the beach, a tweet will go out and inform beachgoers so they can go to safety and make sure everyone's not going to be in harm's way. When you look at other use cases, this one might seem a little bit novel, but there's some interesting things that have real value happening. So, for instance, high-speed police chases. Police are having mechanisms that shoot a GPS tag onto the car in front of them. So instead of having to do a high-speed chase through town, they track them and find them when they pull over or stop or something of that nature. So along with the shark example, tracking endangered species, making sure that they're not getting in harm's way. Also, tracking pests, making sure you're not getting infestations in places and be able to kind of stop that before it gets to be an issue. optimizing power grids, properly watering crops, connecting vehicles, all the work with autonomous cars right now, and the huge leaps and bounds we're seeing with IoT connectivity in the agriculture space. While those ones are a little bit more cooler, there's some ones that are probably more realistic for us to interact with in our day-to-day lives. So tracking event data, having things set up for preventative maintenance tracked by IoT so you can anticipate a problem before it occurs and slows down your business. Also asset tracking, cold chain, making more efficient truck routes, helping with anti-counterfeiting. You know, the IoT applications at this stage seem to be more limited by imagination and, of course, the ever-present budget, as opposed to really what the technology is capable of doing. So with Auto ID and IoT as part of a connected agile enterprise, the primary thing that you really need to remember is that technology should not be siloed. This really goes for any type of technology, but in particular IoT. The combination of technologies is really what drives efficiency and enables use cases in this space. So RFID hardware, mobile computers, sensors, Wi-Fi access point and radios, each of those have a specific scenario and a specific environment where they're going to really be more beneficial. Having these things working independently or having the information retrieved from them siloed in certain departments is going to be hugely detrimental to any of your efforts here. The entire purpose and foundation of the Internet of Things is all of those things are connected on the Internet. If these are not being cross-communicated, you're really going to miss out on a lot. So the above can really help turn a company with fragmented agility, where that agility may be found in separate business processes or may not be linked, into a fully connected and agile enterprise. A key challenge is to effectively manage that set of disparate devices and systems and network them together. When you have that, you get the connected agile enterprise, and then you can really start reaping the benefits of the system. And then kind of one of the last major concepts is how much of what we hear and see about IoT is essentially hype. What this slide kind of talks to is there's really no clear defined answer to what the market size of IoT is. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So there's a varying agreement on exactly what IoT encompasses. So which things do you include with looking at IoT budget? Is it simply the things themselves, consumer devices? Are we also talking about network and system integration and data centers and analytics? All of that can fall into the IoT bucket and be viewed and forecasted in very different ways. So just looking at a couple points on the screen, we have Cisco estimating IoT could have an opportunity of $14 trillion, and then that actually rose up to $19 trillion. Down the page from the bullet points, market size for IoT would be $290 billion by 2017. That's what was forecast in 2013. The actual 2017 numbers are closer to 235 billion, with an estimated forecast for 2021 at 520 billion. So yes, they were a few billion off here and there on their estimate, but the general consensus across the board with all of these numbers, despite them having some varying degrees in their estimate, is this is growing. It's not going away. It's going to continue to be very important and integrated more and more into not only our businesses, but our everyday lives.
Thank you for that information, Amber. So with IoT continuing to grow, AIM is continuing to grow with it. So work from the IoT industry group that we have released, we've released case studies on the application matrix, we've wrote response to the National Telecommunication and Information Administration on the IoT and our position statement on that. We've released several educational white papers, the social Internet of Things, healthcare, and the impact of the IoT. IoT Goes to School, which was written by academics to help students understand the IoT and to have a curriculum around the IoT. We also have the Department of Defense and the Internet of Things, and an IoT Chains of Accountability white paper that we recently released, talking about security in the Internet of Things. We've done several presentations as well on the Internet of Things and identification technologies, as well as what exactly is the Internet of Things. Obviously, we went over that somewhat today, but we went more in depth on what the Internet of Things is and how AIDC technologies relate to that. All of these can be downloaded in the AIM store. If you just go to www.aimglobal.org, you'll see the link to the store. If you have any issues finding that, you can obviously contact AIM at any time. Now, our members of the IoT network, one of them is Don Ertl from CDO Technologies. He just was talking about the fact that the Internet of Things is going to change not just our industry, but in many ways our society. We're seeing that with smart cities, obviously, and that makes AIM's goal of helping lead IoT education and adoption key. Being able to work with members with such varied backgrounds from education, manufacturers, end users, members who are standards focused, and system integrators truly gives you a much deeper understanding of how the IoT is going to mature and what the barriers to adoption are. That's just what Don's really trying to say here, is that all these different fields coming together, it really truly shapes and shows how the IoT is going in the future. Jeannie Duckett from Avery Dennison, she was a former IoT chair as well. She said that the IoT committee provides you with the ability to step outside of the box, to think about topics in different ways and connect with people that you wouldn't have been able to meet otherwise. It's really important to talk with everyone from academics, end users, manufacturers, about how they're implementing the IoT. We all have to work together, and our IoT industry group is a great way to network, to educate, and to be educated. With that being said, AIM and the IoT, we have current endeavors right now. One that Amber's obviously taking the lead on is the IoT in the purchasing process. Basically, the purpose of this white paper is to educate on and foster interest in the use of IoT enabled by AIDC technologies throughout the retail supply chain through post-purchase process. The general scope of this document is intended to provide a high-level overview, of how IoT-based solutions can be used within retail environments to increase efficiency and enable new applications. It's not the intent of this work to go into technical detail, but rather provide a broad overview that can appeal to a wide audience and provide food for thought and interest in further exploring the concepts more in depth. And we are also getting together an IoT town hall that we're very excited about. Will be a global meeting to address the current issues and future trends in the IoT world as it relates to AIDC technologies. We want everyone, literally everyone in the world, to take part in this and to ask questions, bring up their opinions or their views, and we'll have industry experts available to discuss these specific views and questions. So you'll hear more about that here in the future. If you subscribe to the AIM newsletter, you'll be getting more information on dates and everything with that. With all that being said, for more education on the IoT, you can go to www.aimglobal.org. You can contact me at mike@aimglobal.org. And as you saw earlier, I gave you Amber Walls' contact. You can contact her as well if you want to get involved with the IoT industry group. From me and Amber, we both want to say happy IoT Day, and we hope to work with you and talk with you soon.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.